Hey, what's going on, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of iTrack. Huge shout out to everybody that's been tapping in, man. Special shouts out to the UK for tapping in heavy. Hey, all 50 states, New York, Louisiana, I see all you guys tapping in, man. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Aussie, Scotland, all of Africa, man. I see you guys tapping in. I appreciate you guys. Today we're going to take a look at drone sightings hovering over military bases. Also, we got a clear view of these orbs hovering over a few of these states as well. That along with a lot of other interesting clips. But before we do any of that, go ahead and smash that like button for me. Hit that hype button and hit the subscribe button if you're not already a part of the iTrack fan, man. Let's go ahead and get right into it.
Mystery drones over a major U.S. military base in Louisiana. Waves of high-tech drones flying over the highly sensitive area. That base housing B-52 bombers and the Air Force's nuclear command. So who's behind the drones? Here's our chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katersky.
Tonight, law enforcement officials are warning of a significant threat to public safety and national security after swarms of high-tech drones invaded the airspace over one of the nation's most strategic military installations for nearly a week. A confidential briefing document reviewed by ABC News said earlier this month, multiple waves of 12 to 15 drones flew for hours at a time over sensitive areas of Barksdale Air Force Base near Shreveport, Louisiana, home of B-52 bombers and the Air Force's nuclear command.
And the Air Force was not able to do anything to stop them.
The drones operated in loose formations, then dispersed across sensitive locations on the base, and they're unlike anything available off the shelf. The document said these drones have a much longer range and are resistant to jamming.
The sophistication we see in both how the drones were employed and the kinds of drones don't point to some hobbyist. They point to a state actor.
Barksdale Air Force Base confirmed to ABC News it is investigating multiple unauthorized drones operating in our airspace during the week of March 9th.
The analysis we reviewed, David, said these still unexplained incursions are expected to continue, and law enforcement officials, David, have long expressed concerns about the country's ability to defend itself from drones. David?
And our team will stay on this too. Aaron, thank you.
Now, all the iTrack fam in Louisiana, definitely keep your head on a swivel, especially because of what's been going on in the Middle East. You can never be too careful.
We now have the clear shot of the orbs, which are now being called plasmoids. And people are saying that these are actual living organisms. And here's a really close-up shot of it with a 600mm film camera. And if you guys remember, there's this one dude that predicted this aerial battle that was supposed to happen shortly after Donald Trump was on Joe Rogan's podcast. If you remember, they were saying that there was supposed to be an alien invasion at a certain date and time, which never technically happened. But our definition of an alien invasion might be totally different than what's actually happening. So in this video here, a drone, which is this green light, comes up to the orb, which is the orange light, and the orb completely destroys this drone. The guy that was able to predict different events that happened did so that would use an algorithm that would analyze online conversations and predict future events. I did a full video on this, and the dude actually predicted a lot of things that have happened. And could the drones and the orbs in the sky be the alien invasion that he had predicted?
It's interesting because we could almost piecemeal this whole situation together, knowing that the government has just acquired alien.gov. There's some kind of rollout happening, and I feel like we'll find out before 2026 is over with.
Workers are reporting that they're seeing disturbing images coming from the feeds of their users' smart glasses. Now, first, let me just put it out there. Meta is the absolute worst at privacy. If you look at their terms of service, anything you use on those glasses, they can train their data on. So they are seeing everything. So number one, just be aware of that. Number two, I'm just going to tell you right now, if I'm on a jury and a woman has brutally beaten a man wearing these glasses in her presence, I'm voting for nullification.
Baby octopuses are born completely on their own, and their mother never meets them. After laying thousands of eggs, a female octopus will guard them for months without leaving. She stops eating, focusing only on protecting and cleaning the eggs until they hatch. By the time the babies emerge, the mother is usually too weak to survive. From that moment on, each baby octopus is completely independent. They hatch as tiny, fully formed versions of adults and immediately drift into the open ocean, where they must find food and avoid predators on their own. Out of the thousands that hatch, only a small number will survive long enough to grow. As they develop, octopuses rely on a completely different set of abilities to stay alive. They have 3 hearts, and interestingly, 2 of them stop working when they swim, which is why they prefer crawling along the ocean floor instead of moving long distances through open water. Their bodies are incredibly flexible, allowing them to squeeze through openings no larger than their beak. They're also highly intelligent, capable of solving problems and remembering solutions.
I think we've all agreed that those are the real aliens.
will.i.am designed a 3-wheeled electric vehicle with an AI assistant built in. Yes, that will.i.am, the Black Eyed Peas frontman turned tech entrepreneur.
The agent is not just helping me navigate getting to and from work. It is actually helping me do my work. My emailing, calendaring, digesting the notes from night before.
He calls it the Trinity, an electric vehicle designed to double as a brains on wheels, functioning like a mobile workspace. A Kickstarter promo video posted in January offers a closer look at the single-passenger car.
There's a GPU on board. All the inferences are happening on vehicle. When I pull the Trinity up into my home, my Trinity is the GPU for the house. When I'm out there in the world, my Trinity is doing all the compute for all my digital agentic work.
will.i.am says he had it built to explore how AI could change work.
AI is this new renaissance where you put your imagination to work and dream up that doesn't exist yet. And people that look like me can participate.
The project says a limited initial run of 500 vehicles is planned, with deliveries targeted for 2027 and a price expected to be under $30,000.
Whenever I see those motorcycles, skinny type cars, they look cool, but at the end of the day, any of these wide body cars will eat that up in an accident.
Holy cow, the TSA lines at airports right now are insane. If I had to wait 3 hours to get into the airport, I am 100% canceling my flight. So why the heck is this happening in airports all over the United States? Well, if you didn't know, we're actually in a partial government shutdown right now that started in mid-February, and it has to do with the Department of Homeland Security. Congress couldn't agree on funding, and TSA workers are considered essential workers. So right now they're not getting paid, and this past week marks their first paycheck that they missed. So the ones that are working right now are not getting paid, so pretty much everyone is quitting. So that brings us to the $1 million question. When the heck are they going to get funded again? Well, nobody knows, but if you look at the prediction markets on Kalshi, there's about a 50% chance that this ends before April comes. Problem is, this is continually getting worse. At some airports, there's only about a 10% call out rate with TSA workers, but at some there's up to 40%, and across the whole country, 300 TSA workers have quit. And if you look at this video, just pay attention to the line. It literally goes outside the door. I have never seen that in my entire life. And not to mention, spring break is happening right now, so there's another surge with that. So if you're about to travel, just prepare depending on what airport you're at. But I'm genuinely curious if anyone here has traveled recently, what was your experience at the TSA line? Because some of these lines are just insane.
Man lived 54 years with a hole in his head and brain exposed. I'm a neurosurgeon. I'll explain how this is possible and how I would have managed things differently. He was shot at close range with a rifle. The bullet went through his skull bone and lodged right in his brain. He should have been knocked unconscious, but he got up. And he put his eye back in, it had fallen out, put his skull bones back together, and found a surgeon to take out the musket ball. Surgeon looked right in there and could see the brain pulsating and said, "I'm not operating. You're dead by the morning. Go enjoy yourself." But this guy lived for 54 more years. Along the way, weird things happened. He liked to put his pinky in the hole and touch his brain. People were amused, but he said it hurt a lot. And then about every decade, the wound would spit out metal fragments. He kept on getting infections like meningitis, fevers, being delirious. And this could have just led him to pass away. This guy was tough. He would just keep on going. No antibiotics, no surgery. He just was a survivor. So what would I do differently? I would open up. I'd remove any of the infected skull or injured skull. I'd remove any damaged brain. I would build up a new skull, and he'd be good as new. But he didn't have any of this, and he still survived. Is this luck, or is he just built differently?
This is one of those situations where clearly God had his hand on him, because there's no way in the world that he should have survived that at all. Who's to say if he got the surgery that he would have survived it? So maybe not getting the surgery was the answer. Very, very rare and odd situation. Definitely let me know what you think.
You Jeffrey Epstein. I know I kind of look like the guy. Well, you could be the guy. I could be the guy, but I'm not the guy.
No, he's not the guy.
I don't know. I was at my girlfriend's house, and I left my phone in a room for about 4 hours. Finally came back to my phone, and it is blown up. Peter, call me. Peter, call me. You're blowing up the internet. I didn't think it was a big deal, and then a day or two later, it really blew up. All my friends are calling me. People I haven't heard since grade school. It really resonated. I thought it was hilarious.
But this hasn't affected like your personal life?
No, I think it's kind of funny.
There we
it's
fucking
pathetic,
go, dude.
but funny because he's such a vile human being.
We weren't born to do jobs. Jobs are an artifact of the shortage that, oh gosh, somebody better be a farmer. Okay, somebody better, drive those trucks around. All of that is based on creating the human intelligence to provide a broad range of services. And so as you get away from that being a necessary thing, you get a lot more leisure time. It'll be people who've grown up in that world of no shortage who will have to think through. I think it's hard for anybody, in my case, spent 70 years in the world of, shortages. It's hard to reprogram your brain to this change. Society will be able to have a level of output, food, medical advice that won't require everybody to work like they do today. We'll have a choice. I mean, we can say that the machines shouldn't help with certain things. We can confine them to certain areas if we choose to. But the reason you think about jobs is because of the shortages. Even that framing of how you think about the world won't really be the way to think about it.
You know what? Work of any shape or form gives people purpose. Could you imagine a world where 70 to 80% of people had nothing to do, no purpose? I don't know. It sounds kind of scary. It sounds a little too wild to even imagine right now.
Symbolism on the Great Seal, where in Roman numerals you have 1776, you have a 13-stepped uncapped pyramid, and numerous American historians have told us that those steps represent periods of time, over which is this ominous Eye of Apollo, known to the Egyptians as Osiris, known to the Sumerians as Gilgamesh, known in the Old Testament as Nimrod. And that, too, is verified by the Freemasons as well as American historians. That's not a disputable fact, and it's not Tom Horn's opinion. That's what that eye represents. Combined here with the statement Anuet Coeptus and the prophecy Novus Ordo Seclorum.
Basically said that you have the sun, you have the earth, and there's this force of gravity that keeps the earth in orbit. But Einstein was well aware, and Newton was too, that Newton's never told anybody how that force is communicated. So Einstein looks at this situation as others could have done for 200 years. Nothing changed. He just looked at the same thing that everybody else looked at. And so what do you have? You got the sun, you have the earth. What's between them? Space. So it's got to be that space somehow is the thing that communicates the force of gravity. So this little picture gives a sense of what that is. You bring in a body like the sun. Einstein tells us that the fabric of space, in fact, space-time curves, and it's that curvature that keeps objects in orbit. So look at the moon around the earth. The earth is warping the environment, and the moon is kept in orbit kind of because space is nudging it around, keeping it rolling along this valley in this curved environment. And if you pull back from this imagery, you see that the earth is kept in orbit for exactly the same reason.
A restaurant in Japan did an experiment to show you how fast germs spread. A single participant had his hands coated with fluorescent substance. Then the guy did his thing. He went to the buffet, socialized with his friends, and then the lights went off. Look at this. Bro contaminated everything and everybody. Sheesh. Wow.
I studied a question, which is why creatures like us grow feeble and inefficient as we age. Right? The process we call technically senescence. Most people would call it aging. Aging's not a great term for reasons I won't bother with. But in any case, in studying senescence, there was a hidden trade-off that I thought was tremendously explanatory. And it turned out to be that the trade-off involves a limitation built into our bodies where each of our cells, almost all of them, have a limit on how many times they can reproduce in a lifetime.
You actually interviewed Elon's old babysitter, Rosemary, and she had some interesting things to say.
She claims that Elon's family is kind of interconnected with a lot of dark occult things going on, and that Elon's original name was El Elyon. It means essentially the Lord Most High or something like that. She's made the claim that Elon was going to be the guy that introduced the Mark of the Beast to the world. That was his ultimate destiny. And sure enough, I mean, he's involved in doing things like Neuralink and stuff like that. So she tried to get the word out that, you know, this guy is not on the up and up with these things, that there's evil occult ties to all of it. She also claimed that Elon's grandfather faked his death and was alive well into the 1980s. It's interesting to hear what she has to say, and there's a lot of people that believe what she says to be true, and I have no reason to disbelieve that she's sincere about what she's saying. She truly believes what she claims. It's not the first time she's made these claims. She hasn't gotten a lot of exposure.
I think the wild part about what she's saying is that she could have said anything. And what she said was very specific. And if you look at what he has going on, it all lines up. But she said this way before it was lining up.
Airports around the country putting out donation boxes for TSA workers as some are working a second job in order to make ends meet. The Department of Homeland Security says more than 350 officers have quit altogether. Take a look at some of the longest airport wait times this morning. Other airports not as bad, a few reporting almost no wait at all, including here at Newark. Now, lawmakers are working today on Capitol Hill, but there's no vote to reopen the Department of Homeland Security just yet.
Still, none of this really makes sense, especially why workers in the airport are being hit the hardest. The only thing I can think that makes sense is that they just don't want people traveling. They want to make it as difficult as possible for people to travel.
Did you know? One of the smallest mushrooms in the world grows in the tropical forests of Taiwan. The tiny species Mycena subcyanocephala is only about 1 millimeter tall, smaller than a grain of rice. This delicate blue-headed snake mushroom is extremely rare and has been documented only 8 times, making it a fascinating hidden treasure of the forest floor.
You have lost your mind. You thought the colossal squid was dangerous? Let me tell you something. That was a Humboldt squid, also known as the red devil. And they are easily the most dangerous squid in the ocean. Period. First off, they're extremely aggressive, and they're known for attacking just about anything with a heartbeat. They literally come with a warning sign. Their skin starts flashing red when they get angry. That's where they get the name Red Devil. And that's Mother Nature's way of looking out for us, because they also have a beak, like a bird, that's known for ripping flesh off the bone. And they don't even have teeth. At least on their beak. I cannot say the same for their tentacles. Each tentacle is covered in about 200 suckers, and each one of those suckers are lined with about a dozen teeth. If my math is correct, that's about 20,000 teeth on their tentacles. Imagine those hugs. Oh, and I forgot to mention that they also travel in groups of over 1,000 members. Probably should have led with that one. Moral of the story, if you needed another reason why humans don't belong in water, there it is. And as always, follow for more facts.
Today, President Trump said he will order ICE agents to do security at airports starting on Monday if Congress does not reach an agreement to fund the Department of Homeland Security immediately. President Trump said the ICE agents would do security like no one has ever seen before.
Okay. So let's get back to the underwater bases, since these are these photos. So this is, I guess in an episode you spoke of having to do procedures underwater. And could you explain why? Like, why would you not just put the being in a tank and operate them in a regular room? Why would you have to be underwater as well?
Well, some of the beings come from water worlds, and there's a lot of beings that live here. We call them like aquafarians. Is kind of the code we use for that. They live here already. They've been living here a long time. But we do have visitors that also come from very far away, that their ships have liquid in them of all different sorts of materials. This specific one, it looks like a mermaid man with little fins. There's sometimes that you cannot
You know, people are like, well, why can't you use those big tubes? And like, because you don't have the visualization, number one. So we actually have operating rooms as big as this room filled with seawater that we walk into with these suits and take samples, because the bodies have to be kept in the water or they'll deteriorate with pure oxygen on the surface. So that's why we cannot, use these little capsules and stuff. You have to be ambidextrous here. You're talking some very small instruments and things like that. This is a good depiction of that, and we have these special boots that keep us, they're magnetic, that keep us on the ground. Everything is contained in the suit. And this is just one of the artist renditions that I depicted for them for this procedure. So it has everything an operating room would have. It's just, it's underwater.
How many times did you have to do an underwater procedure like that? Did you do them often?
No, maybe 5% of the ones that I did, you had to do in some sort of liquid or water.
You know that Whitney Houston's daughter lived almost the exact same tragic fate as her mother? Bobby Christina was the only child of two celebrities. She grew up between her mother's immense fame and her father Bobby Brown's demon. But on February 11th, 2012, her story took a turn no one expected. Her mother, Whitney Houston, was found lifeless in the bath. The 18-year-old learned about it. It marked the beginning of her downfall. And on January 31st, 2015, almost 3 years to the day after her mother's death, something even more terrible happened. Bobby Christina was found unconscious in the bathtub of her home in Georgia by her partner. The similarities with Whitney Houston's death were so chilling that the news spread worldwide within minutes. Later, it was revealed that after 6 months in a coma, she eventually died on July 26, 2015, at just 22 years old. But the worst part came from the autopsy released by the medical examiner. She had died from pneumonia caused by water immersion and drug intoxication. Forensic doctors found an extremely toxic cocktail in her system. It included alcohol, cannabis, and powerful drugs similar to morphine. What no one understands is that in 2016, the court declared her partner responsible for her death. It was later revealed that he was ordered to pay $36 million to the family, who accused him of giving her that deadly mixture. But he himself died from an overdose in 2020, taking the truth with him.
That whole Whitney story just might be one of the saddest stories in music history. Alongside of what's going on with Celine Dion. That's pretty tragic as well.
Why can't a robot just click, I'm not a robot? I mean, it's literally just a checkbox. It should be able to do that immediately. So the answer actually reveals something deeper about what makes all of us human. Now, when a bot moves a mouse, it takes the most efficient path, a straight, perfect line. But humans, we're just a mess. We hesitate, we overshoot, we have little micro tremors in our hands we don't even notice. So the reCAPTCHA isn't testing you for intelligence. It's actually measuring how human you are. And in a world where AI can code, generate whole worlds on demand, and even think, the one thing that proves your humanity isn't your perfection. It's actually your flaws. And a computer still can't fake that.
See how much symbolism he actually uses, but of course the media always covers it up. His pregame ritual is what scares me the most. Take a very close look to see what he's doing with his hands. He points to whatever he believes in, puts his hand together for the Illuminati sign, and then does the 666 devil horns with his hands. And if you think I'm crazy, please tell me what else this could possibly be, because I would love to be wrong. The tattoo on his chest marks the Boulay Foundation, which only the rich can join, and in order to join this, you need to have loyalty.
This is going to blow your mind. Lockheed Martin has invented a technology for planes that allows the plane to literally change shape, grow, change color, charge itself without any wires, and also potentially fly autonomously, which for us sounds a lot like what we perceive to be UFOs. They've developed a technology called the skin of an aircraft, and it's not like your traditional paint job that's a protective layer over the plane. This acts like a living organism, and it can literally allow the plane to change shape on demand. It's more of a muscular material. So what happens is the plane has an intuitive ability to sense when the plane needs to change shape. So imagine it'd be like if you had a couch that sensed that you needed a nap, and so it changed into a recliner. This is all possible because of the plane's advanced sensors and data flow that are built into the skin using no wires. It is because of this advanced technology that the plane is also able to change color in seconds and also potentially fly autonomously.
Fun fact of the day. By some metrics, car manufacturer Volkswagen's most produced part is part number 199398500A, which are the sausages they have sold at their German factories since 1973. Part number 199398500B is the curry ketchup made to accompany the sausages.
Assert that Freemasonry has anything to do with what is understood as modern Luciferianism or Satanism or something is really offensive.
It absolutely is offensive.
Because, as you well know, in Masonic lodges, we worship or have an opening prayer to the great architect of the universe. The great architect of the universe is whom? The God who created the universe. So I only know one God who's the maker of heaven and earth, of all things visible and invisible. And it's not Satan.
I've been seeing a few videos of Freemasons coming out trying to clear their name. And I think that's pretty much the only way to clear your name is to come out and say exactly what's going on. So we all can be informed on both sides of the coin.
For entertainment purposes only.
Your eyes have built-in anxiety shutoff that trauma therapists activate in every session. It's called lateral eye movement. Look as far left as you can. Hold for 3 seconds, then as far right. Hold for 3 seconds. Repeat 5 times. EMDR therapists discovered this accidentally. Lateral eye movements activate bilateral brain stimulation that reduces amygdala firing by 36% within 90 seconds. Your eye muscles are wired directly to your threat processing center. Moving them side to side tells your brainstem the environment is safe because your eyes are scanning the full horizon. Predator detection complete. Threat level drops. Researchers tested anxious patients. 5 lateral eye passes reduced cortisol faster than 4 minutes of box breathing. Your eyes reset your nervous system quicker than your lungs do. The effect stacks as well. 10 passes doubles the reduction window from 20 minutes to over an hour. The neural reset protocol uses targeted eye movement sequences as part of the daily somatic exercises for building long-term stress resilience. Tap the link in my profile.
Did you know glass was it to heat up a bunch of sand? That's pretty crazy.
We have some crazy things happening in the world right now. Bad Bunny is being sued for $1 million after his Super Bowl set because an 84-year-old Puerto Rican citizen says that the house that he used on that field was an unauthorized replica of his house in Puerto Rico. One man accidentally gained control of over 7,000 robot vacuums. He used Claude to find an API so that he could control it with his Xbox controller. Well, Claude found the API that gives access to over 7,000 different cameras on different robots across 24 different countries. He said he saw a dude eating cereal at 3 in the morning on one of them. A 17-year-old might be going to jail because they put googly eyes on an $88,000 sculpture. Studies are now showing that emotional neglect activates the same part of the brain as physical abuse. A Malaysian man bought AI.com as a kid back in 1993, and he just sold it for $70 million. My name's Adorian. Join me in learning something tomorrow, even if it's crazy.
These are things that are rapidly disappearing. So owning a driver's license has dropped about 40% in major cities as the cost and inconvenience of having it isn't worth it for younger generations, especially with public transportation and Uber. The 9-to-5 workday is nearly gone as 66% of companies now have asynchronous output work models, as well as the influence of hybrid work and AI integration. Physical banks are disappearing, with neighborhood branches reducing by 85% over the past 24 months as digital banking becomes king for convenience and visibility of funds. Human customer service is rapidly disappearing, with over 90% of first contact calls being with an AI agent before getting you in touch with a human. Non-targeted commercials are dying, with over 95% of the ads you see on social media feeds and streamers like Netflix being personalized for you. And even accents are disappearing, with people converging towards internet accents. And finally, true silence, which is defined as 15 straight minutes without a man-made noise, has effectively disappeared in 90% of national parks thanks to drones, satellites, and other noise pollution, meaning that even the quiet of the wilderness is functionally extinct. That's crazy.
Now, driver's license is disappearing. That's pretty wild because in New York, you probably don't need it, but in LA, you're definitely gonna need it.
So Julian, let us know, how does it feel to fuel a Rolls Royce?
I have been working on this for 5 years of my life, and it feels amazing to finally be able to fuel a luxury vehicle. I love you back. Love you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, to fuel a luxury vehicle engine and the vehicle combiner $350,000 off of Plastiline this Saturday, March 21st at the Rocket City Dragway in Huntsville, Alabama. This is history for all of humanity, history for Alabama, and a send off into the next chapter where I'm going to have Mark V, my mobile machine that will allow me to tour the entire United States, turning plastic waste into fuel and showing everybody that plastic is not waste, but it is fuel. Plastiline, baby, let's go! Let's get it!
Now, did we just witness somebody that beat the Matrix? It looks like he's enjoying the fruits of his labor, looking all clean, looking like he got a bag. I mean, most of the inventors that are even on my channel did not make it. Mysteriously, were unalive for all different reasons, but he looks like he's thriving and he doesn't look like a clone. So definitely shouts out to him. Let me know what you think. You think plastiline will be the new gasoline? Tap it and let me know.
This is what it looks like when a shepherd is displaced by war. The footage shows hundreds of goats and sheep moving through the streets of Beirut behind a man who had fled Israeli strikes in Lebanon near Nakora. He reportedly walked for days to reach the city and brought his entire herd with him instead of leaving them behind. In rural Lebanon, a single goat or sheep can be worth up to $300, meaning a herd this size can represent tens of thousands of dollars in a person's entire livelihood. Here's a ridiculously amazing video of lightning striking a firework. Commenters across the internet said it was God's way of telling the fireworkers to keep the noise down. This is what it looks like to win at pinball. Here's a clip of a Picasso bug, Africa's living masterpiece. Native to sub-Saharan Africa, this tiny insect is only about a centimeter long, but its shell is covered in striking geometric patterns of red, blue, yellow, and black. Those vivid colors do serve a purpose, warning predators that it tastes terrible.
How much money does Chris Brown make from his music every month? I hear you ask. And luckily for you, I'm the guy that works it out. Welcome to episode 8 of Pocket Watching. I never get tired of saying that. A show where we attempt to break down how much a musician makes from their music every single month. The first stop on our journey is Spotify, because we have to go to Spotify. They own the whole game. They have 32% of the music streaming market, so I don't want to hear anything. So his daily streams as of yesterday was 16 million every single day. Which means in total on Spotify, he's streaming around 481 million times a month. But this is just Spotify. And there are other players in the game. Accounting for all streaming sites, he makes about 1 billion streams a month. If we multiply that by the average royalty rate, which is $0.0035 per stream, Chris Brown will earn $3.7 million a month. Now here's where it gets super duper interesting. Don't go anywhere. If there's anything to learn about Chris Brown's career, is to know that if you have a good mother on your side, it will take you a long way. Meet Joyce Hawkins. This is Chris Brown's mother. And from the age of 15, 16, she has been watching his back like a hawk. The music business is a dirty business, and she said, you're not going to be doing that with my son. Around this time, I want that lovey-dovey, that kiss. Chris Brown was making a ton of money. He received $150,000 advance from Jive, which is a subsidiary of Sony label, in 2004. He was only like 16. But yet again, his mother was smart and said, you know what? I'm going to set up a trust fund for you, which means you're not going to be able to touch that money until you're a full-blown adult. And that money stacked and stacked and stacked and stacked. And so in 2019, Chris Brown completely renegotiated his contract. He signed with RCA under a licensing agreement, which meant he owned his masters, he controlled his songs, and licensed them to the label. This meant that he could take a much bigger share. And this is where the money starts to really stack. Let me show you. Because when we go back to the numbers, this means that out of his total streams, he's probably taken 80%, 80%. That's crazy. If you really understand music, you understand that artists at this level do not get 80%, which takes his total just shy of 3 million a month. If we add his publishing and then add his YouTube views, that takes it to a whopping $3,602,313.14 a month. People sometimes say I look like Chris Brown. Maybe I could, be his doppelganger. With you. Lend me a tenner, man. Lend me a tenner. Comment down below the next artist you want me to do.
Did ChatGPT just map the brain? Scientists at UCSF and the Allen Institute recently announced Cell Transformer, a ChatGPT-like AI model. that successfully categorized 1,300 regions of the mouse brain using massive neuroscience datasets. This is a whole new level of detail for brain region mapping. It's like going from a classroom globe to Google Maps. But that's not all. This AI model goes beyond the brain. Technically, it could be applied to any tissue in the body, including the liver, bone tissue, lung tissue, and even cancerous tissues. Think of all the questions we could ask about how the body works and why things go wrong.
Well, you guys, that's another one in the books, man. I appreciate you guys while we stopping by, watching and learning with me. If you haven't already, do make sure to smash that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button if you're not a part of the iTrack fan, man. And don't forget to hit that hype button for me, and I will definitely catch you on the next one.